Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Hello, Cleopadra Sophia the Bodhi. The the why
The,
I don't
the
understand why that I always, the thing
because
is I always end up saying Bodhi, but it's or no, I think I say body? I
yeah,
think I
you
say
always say
body, but it's supposed
body,
to be
but
Bodhi.
yes, but it's a double
Oh my
entendre, so it's
goodness.
right both ways. It's
Yeah, but I
correct.
still feel compelled to actually, do it the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Um
because it's a very unusual word, but you're very close. You're very close. Actually, you got it right, and then you you,
yes.
you messed yourself up.
Yeah, well, because I was like, I'm speaking again for the
Right.
first time the last maybe 21 hours, because we did
Oh
speak
wow.
probably around this time last night.
Right. Yes. Yeah. We
Yeah,
talked
so that was the
yesterday.
last time that I spoke was with you.
Really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
went to the park and saw all these people, and it was really strange to not be able to say hello. I mean, I smiled and maybe grunted once or twice. They're like, hey, like hi, nice day, or just whatever
Right.
people say, and I was like, mm. But I obviously, it could be a placebo, but I definitely feel that. So in the AI, it was saying that, and we actually talked about this last night, but I didn't realize it till I took a screenshot today, that some practitioners sometimes do like 3 to 7 day silent, fast or whatever before
Yeah.
convocation. What's that word again that you said?
Invocation.
Invocation.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, because you're basically storing up all the energy. People say a lot of useless words. Let's put it this way. People say a lot of useless words. They just, talk just to talk, just to hear their own voice. And when you do that, you expel a lot of energy because everything you say creates something. Your mouth is your most powerful creator. And everything you say creates something. And most people spend their time creating nothing, and this is why like the internet is so um weird, because even though you're not saying it out of your mouth, it's still like something is being said. So like when we did the social media break, to me that was a silent fast, because I really don't talk a lot in public to people. I don't have conversations because I know no one knows what I'm talking about, and it's just annoying to talk to people. I mean, I do it because you have to like do small talk to make people feel comfortable, but outside of that, it's a complete waste of time to talk to any of these people. They have no idea what's going on. Um, and so I don't. So for me, not saying anything on social media was far more closer to a actual like no speaking fast than actually not speaking in public, because I don't, you know.
for sure. So what do you think about the because I feel similar when it comes to most people, but at the same time, I also sometimes feel like, am I being too hard on them? Like, am I, because people always say, oh, you never know what you can learn from others. Like, you never know what a random conversation might lead. Um, so I see both
That's
sides of the
true.
story in terms of like most people, at least conversations that I have, they're just very, with a lot of these people, it's just I try to go deep with them. Obviously, that's a whole art in and of itself in terms of how do
Right.
you go deep with them, it's um but there's just so many layers. There's so many layers to get through to get some sort of depthness, but also sometimes I feel like I'm not being generous enough in giving them like some way in.
Right. I mean, that's why I do talk to people. I force myself to socialize with people. Like I was on the phone like before. I forgot I told you 9:30. I normally say 10:30. So I was on the phone, listening to my friend talking about, some stuff that's going on with her. And I usually can't even tolerate that. But I'm like, no, this is, if I'm in abundance energy, if I was abundant, I would be listening to people complain about their problems, because that's what you do when you're in abundant energy. People complain to you about their problems and they're not always looking for a solution, but you 9 times out of 10 can come up with a solution for them, even if they're not looking for a solution, which is a totally different like conversation. But so I just said, you know what, I'm gonna have this conversation and we'll just see what happens. I limit it, because I feel like I don't necessarily make it so that nobody can get in, but I also just don't have the capacity to let all these people in. So I'm very, but again, that's not our job. Like, we have to remember, like, the banker does not, like, the job of the banker is not to talk to every single person. That's not my job. It's not your job as the king to talk to every single person. That's not our jobs. And so it's okay that people don't really have a way in. That's fine, because if they really need to get to us, a way will be made. And a way will be made. And so that's how I look at it. I'm spending more time now like cultivating relationships I already have, and putting energy and effort into those. And it's not that I'm not looking to integrate in new people, but I'm just moving at a very slow, meticulous pace, because I want, if I bring in new people, I want them to be aligned with the energy that I'm putting out. I don't want to bring in new people that have no idea what I'm talking about, and I've got to spend, all this time giving them social proof, because we've been talking a lot about social proof. I want people I don't need to give social proof. I don't have to, if you need social proof in order to have a conversation with me, 9 times out of 10 we're not going to have a conversation, because I don't have the capacity for that right now. Now, it doesn't mean I'll never have the capacity, but right now is not the time for that. Right now, I need to be cultivating relationships with people who already see my vision. And once I have the social proof, then I can worry about the social proof people. Because you deal with those people differently. Like, when you bring in large numbers of people, this goes into like the whole concept of network marketing. When you bring in large groups of people, you go from being personal with them to sorting them. Like, you're not just like, oh, I'm getting to know everybody. No, you're putting them in a group. You're putting them in a group of, this a person I need to investigate. You're putting in a group, I need to investigate this person, or this person is not quite ready, but I need to check back in with them in a few months, or this person has a long way to go, or this person is totally out of alignment and I gotta, like, they got to at least try to get up to like the alignment level. And you're just sorting people into groups. So I have the bad habit of doing that all the time to everyone, and it's not fair. And I understand, I recognize that. So since I have that as a bad habit, which I have identified as a bad habit, I in my personal life I don't do it. But I know that when I start dealing with hundreds of people, thousands of people, that's how they're going to have to be sorted. The ones who are ready will self-select. The ones who aren't ready will think that they're ready, and I'll have to tell them that you're not quite ready yet. That's just how it is. There's no really, and then there's the ones in the middle who are like, kind of, sorta, let them have a try, whatever. It doesn't change the information that I present. So when I talk to people, I always talk about the same stuff. Even though I integrate it into popular culture, right? So I'll talk about something that's related to like what's going on. So somebody's like, oh, what about this? What about that? Or like, oh, talk to me about Meg the Stallion. Oh, Meg the boy horse. And she had the nerve, speaking of this, she had the nerve to stay on the stand, because Tory Lanez is small, like he's short, that it might have looked like two women fighting. That is the most egregious statement I have ever like heard in my whole life. No matter how small a man is, he never looks like a woman. For her to say that is like gross. So that's what I would be. But so I'm going to talk to people about stuff, but it's going to be from my perspective. Even if it's like political stuff, I'll just make it like, yeah, you don't like Trump? Yeah, he's kind of crazy, which is true. He does a lot of stuff I don't like, which is an absolute fact. However, some of the stuff is necessary. and you can see the result. Like this whole thing with the housing about to have a huge crash because all these illegals have houses. And as they get kicked out, their houses are going to be put up on the market by the bank. It's a huge housing collapse coming because they gave all of these illegals houses. These, and not just the illegals, the refugees too. All of them have houses. They never have to live like how regular Americans like me have to live. Like no, they came here and they automatically got fast tracked. And Black Americans have been saying that ever since the 70s, but like no one believed us. They thought, oh, you guys are just y'all are just still crying about slavery. Now everybody's getting to see what Black folks was talking about in the 70s. It's like one of those insane things. So I just know how to tailor it towards the level that the person is at. That's the good thing about knowing the scales of enchanting, especially as it relates to you. And actually, let me do a little advertising right here. I'm doing a fundraiser for Christmas. I'm selling Advent candles, 7-day candles that you will start to burn on the 12th of December, and you get 2 candles, it'll take you to Christmas. If you get 4 candles, it'll take you to Epiphany. So if you're interested in that, please send me an email. And also, if you need your scales of enchanting done, all of the people who come into the kingdom, they're going to have their scales of enchanting done because we have to know how to sort you. I'm not going to randomly like suggest things to you without understanding who you are as a person. And that's basically the scales of enchanting. I call it like the Akashic Records reading. So if somebody did an Akashic Records reading, right, they would tell you a lot of stuff, but they couldn't put it into context. That's what I do. The scales of enchanting is like your Akashic Records reading, but it's put into context. Then I have the other reading, which goes into more detail, but you got to understand the book that you're in before you start getting down to the chapters. That's how I organize the information. Now that I've done my plug, um, yeah, so you have to be able to sort people into groups, and that's how you're able to manage interacting with so many people and not getting involved with the people who just aren't a frequency match, because that's what we're talking about. Like all of this is about frequency, and if where you are or where you're going, if it matches where that person is, and those are the kind of things that they usually reserve this, like I said, to network marketing and other types of marketing. But these are things that we have to integrate inside the kingdom, because eventually people will be coming in droves, and you have to have a way to handle all of those people. So but you have to have a way to handle it in your mind. So like I said, my thing is the banking. So if you've got a money problem, this problem, like all money problems have to deal with you not being in alignment with your energy. Unless you have black magic done on you. And that's why I call myself like the diviner in chief, because if you have black magic or something like that on you, then we can divine that and get something for you to resolve that problem. That's not really something the priest this does or the king does. Really, the banker has to be the one to clear up all of that kind of, that's really like spiritual paperwork. So I'm always going to just stay in my lane. That's first and foremost. I'm going to stay in my lane and do what is comfortable and familiar to me and what I know that I'm supposed to do. And then outside of that, I'm going to sort people into, oh, this person needs to talk to the emperor. This person needs to talk to the priestess. And that's how I actually like this, or like this is not a problem for me to solve. This is a problem for the priestess. It's a problem for the emperor. And I'm just really like coming into the understanding and the conclusion that a lot of stuff go through the banker first, and then the banker is like the gatekeeper to say whether they even need to be contacting the king. The king is like, you don't need to talk to the king. Why would you? We don't even need to talk to the priest either. Like you really need to just deal with the banker. So as far as interacting with people, that's pretty much going to be in my wheelhouse, which I'm really really good at that, especially groups, especially large numbers of people, because I can read their energy pretty expressly. And I think it's also because I spent so much time wandering around the spirit realm, getting to know all these different entities, that when I find someone with a similar energy, I'm able to match it because I'm already like, I've just been doing the sorting thing. in the spirit realm and now doing it in the physical realm from this perspective, it's much easier for me to sort. So I can tell if there's someone who has a problem that is not a problem I can solve. Like, I will tell them, I'm like, this is not a problem that I can solve, or this is not you're going to have to talk to someone else. Like, I'm going to have to send this up, to someone else who specializes in that. So if somebody has deep, severe emotional problems, I'm not really the one for you, because I'm going to tell you just get over it, because everybody got problems. So that's not really helpful. I know, hey, that person is going to be in the queue for when the priestess is ready to start talking with people. That's going to be a person that they goes on the list of people she needs to talk to, because I know that's not me. You know what I mean? Or if it's somebody who has a problem with some of these entities and they're not entities that I'm like familiar with or can handle, nope, you're gonna have to go and talk to the king. This is outside of my pay grade. Because I deal with the most common entities. I'm not dealing with all these, extraordinary entities that's doing all this crazy stuff. You're gonna have to go talk to the emperor for that. So a lot of this kind of sorting within the empire is really going to come through me and figuring out exactly what they need. Some people won't need anything. They'll just be like, all right, how do we move forward? And I'll just say, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. For example, while we're talking about like what's going on December the 1st, we start our 260 days Zolkin cycle. I'm gonna have videos for every day of the 260 days. It's 20 sets of 13 days, and so we're going to go through the whole cycle together. About halfway through the 260 days, we're going to start to have like Zoom calls and meetings and stuff where we'll talk about our experience up to then, because the first part of the cycle, you really have to identify the energy. And this is how we actually learned it. Like, I knew when the cycle started. And so we were just observing what was going on, not like trying to line it up with the energy or anything like that, just observing it. The people who are going to participate, you'll get the advantage of actually knowing what the energy is, because when we did it, we didn't know. We were just like, okay, this energy is different. Then the next day it's another energy and another energy. So we just got familiar with the energy. And then by the time we got to the 10 days of darkness, which is the mystic column, is the middle 20 days. And so about 15 days before the 20-day cycle starts the 10 days of darkness. And then 5 days after the 20-day cycle starts the 10 days of light. And this is a set of 10 galactic portal days. And it has to deal with the actual shape of the Zolkin and the sort of sacred geometry that's encoded into following the cycle in a certain way. So when we got to that 10 days of darkness, which was what comes first, that's when I started to realize, oh, wait a minute, this stuff means something. This is not like random. Like before, I was like, this seems pretty random. We got to those 10 days, I realized it wasn't random. Then when we did the 20-day mystic column, that was extremely difficult 20 days. I mean, it was hard because the energy was relentless. And even though we knew it was coming, I had done the research, I had an idea of what it was going to be like. I still had no idea it was going to be so relentless. I'm going to tell y'all what days those were, because I have them written down so you can think back to that time, because it was earlier this year. It wasn't really that long ago. The 10 days of uh, darkness was June the 29th. So right before we started these conversations, it was June the 29th through July the 8th. And then the 20-day mystic column was July the 14th through August the 3rd. And then I'm sorry, the 10 days of light first, and then the 10 days of darkness. The 10 days of darkness started on August the 8th and went through August the 17th. And I'm with absolute certainty, the 20-day mystic column was so extremely difficult because there are 20 solar seals in the Zolkin. And so when you get to the mystic column, this is basically you like having a direct experience with each one of those energies. And they have names, and I'll talk about that, but it's way too complicated. And this is not even what it's supposed to be about, but I'm talking about it anyway. It's a lot of you get like a a one-on-one interaction with each of these entities in its most clearest form, because it's in the middle. Like, again, this is why we start the cycle from light to light, from full power to full power. When you meet in the middle, that's when you merge with the energy. And so it's very difficult to see the difference between your energy and that energy. That's the best way. Again, it's called being intimate. So you get intimate with these energies, and you literally see them intimately. And so when we're going through that 20-day column, it was a lot of very difficult energy, because again, I didn't have words to explain all of this stuff. So now that we're getting to the end of the cycle, this cycle, like I said, let me see, today is the 25th. So we're on 254. So we're almost at the end, because the new cycle starts on Monday. So now we're at the end. It's like cruising through the energy. The energy is not, it's not difficult. It's understandable. You kind of like get to know the entities that are affiliated with each of these energies. And you really, it's just like on cruise control, especially I would say the last 20 days. I mean, this has been quite easy energy, all things being considered, which the last 20 days, the first day of the last 20 days was on the 15th, when we started this pre or four feast or four fast, whatever you want to call it. So so that's one thing that'll start on December the 1st, and we're going to go through the whole 260-day cycle. um and then after Epiphany, which is on January the 6th, or Theophany, we call it, we are going to start back with our family banking groups and our No Money Grow Money. So, No Money Grow Money is a group that I started where I was basically going over um, common law, some Forex trading stuff that I'm familiar with, and basic information on things that we're seeing in the financial sector. So I'm going to start that back. That's going to be probably like a live Zoom on YouTube, more than likely. And then family banking is for people who want to do the paperwork process. Now, I haven't really talked a lot about the paperwork process here, but let me let me put it this way. The paperwork process is when you go from being a all of the positions that are assigned to you are vacant. Like, basically right now they're all vacant. So you're supposed to have a trustee, you're supposed to have administrators, you're supposed to have owners, and all this stuff. All these positions are all vacant. When you do the beneficial owner, or not the beneficial owner, when you do the paperwork process, it's 5 different processes. When you do the process, you go from all these positions being vacant to all these positions being filled, and you, the living person, are the one who fills the vacancies. So the paperwork process is about a 2-year process. You can't really do it in less than 2 years, because it's a lot of different things going on, and it's self-paced. So you work at the pace that feels comfortable for you. I'm going to go through the whole process again. I've already done this. This will be my 3rd time walking people through it. So think about if that's something that you might be interested in, and I'll reshare the video on my X account, so that you can kind of get an idea of what the whole process is and why it's important. But if you don't do this process and you just leave the paperwork undone, then at any moment you can be eliminated from the system. But if all the positions are filled within your own like kingdom, which is you, then they can't just eliminate you from the system. They have to do a deal with you. So, for example, the first process we do is called secure creditor. I'm not going to go into all of them, but the first one is the one that's the easiest to understand. It's called secure creditor. Okay. The point of becoming a secured creditor is that you're a secured creditor of the United States. And so if for some reason these people decide to make the country go bankrupt, which is what they've been trying to do. They've been trying to, well, the country is already let me go back. The country is already in bankruptcy. When they did the Federal Reserve Act, which is I think 1913, and all these weird banking acts, that's because the country was in bankruptcy. So we have been operating under bankruptcy rules ever since that time. So if you don't understand that, again, in our No Money Grow Money class, I'm going to go over the Bankruptcy Act, because there's an act that tells you how bankruptcies go. And so now this is all research I did on my own. Nobody else put this together. Like this was me trying to understand what was going on. So once I read the Bankruptcy Act and I realized, hey, wait a minute, if I'm not a creditor of the United States, meaning I haven't done this paperwork, if they decide to go bankrupt, they can take everything from me. So I know people have heard about the fact that they took what is it? They took everyone's gold. It's called the Gold Reserve Act, where they took everyone's gold and they gave them paper, and then basically they wouldn't give them their gold back, and they wouldn't really honor the paper either. That's because we were in bankruptcy, and so if you were in your proper status at that time, like meaning you were a quote unquote, like, I don't like the word sovereign, but if all the positions were filled, they could not come to your house and take your gold. But if the positions were not filled, they could come to your house and take your gold. And basically they didn't come to people's houses and take their gold. That's not what happened. Black people didn't use banks like that, okay? But these people who came from Europe, they did use banks like that. So they had deposited all of their gold into the bank, because that's basically how it was done, especially that's how it was done in Europe. And so instead of keeping their gold, they deposit in the bank. So all the bank did was called what they would call now is a bail-in. They took all the gold that was already in the bank. I highly doubt they went around to people's houses and took people's gold. I know they said they did that. I highly doubt that. I think they just bailed in and took all the gold that was in deposit in the bank. Okay. And so if that's the case, if we know for a fact this is how they operate, if you don't have this, if you're not a creditor of the United States, meaning you haven't done this paperwork, if they decide to go bankrupt, which Trump is like literally like pulling them out of bankruptcy, that's what he's doing. If he manages to pay off the debt or however he's going to handle that, then we will be out of bankruptcy and this country will be forced to go back to standard operating procedure. The reason why they can get away with what they're getting away with right now is because we're in bankruptcy. If we come out of bankruptcy, they won't be able to get away with this stuff, okay? Just as an understanding. So when you become a creditor of the United States, that means that in order for them to before they can sell off the assets, right? Because that's what happens in a bankruptcy. They take whatever assets there are and they sell them off. Before they can sell off the assets, they have to pay you first. Now, how much do they have to pay you? Well, that's why you get a bond. This is a part of the secure creditor process. We create a bond, and people say the bond is for $100 million. Okay, what is the bond backed by? It's backed by your signature, and your signature is the same as the full faith and credit of the United States, because the United States believes they're God, and therefore they have bestowed on you godhood. That's how it works. And so your signature means everything. This is why they want you to sign all this paperwork when you get loans, when you do all kinds of stuff. They take your signature and they do all kinds of stuff with it they're not supposed to do. Now, you can rescind your signature, and that's something we do as a part of this process. But we don't do that first because I have it broke down so that it's easy to understand. But that's the point of becoming a secure creditor. If they decide to liquidate the assets, they cannot liquidate the assets without paying you first. And $100 million is the very smallest unit that you basically can use when you're doing one of these bonds. That's just the way that it works. So that's the first part. Like I said, it's a 5-part process. That process by itself is 3 months because you have to mail, and it's not 3 months. You finish it in 3 months, and then you have to wait. God only knows how long for them to actually document that your bond is on file. But it doesn't matter. Once you send it in, the bond is on file. You don't have to worry about that. So the way I do it is I create the bond for you because it has to be endorsed by other people who are also doing this process, which we have in-house through our tribal administrative services. So we handle all of that part. I send you the bond, you sign it, and you send it in. You keep an original copy for yourself, which when I did the process, I did not do, which I really, really, really regret at this point, not having 2 originals. But the person who taught me did not understand the value of multiple originals. Anyway, they just didn't understand the value of having multiple originals. Now I make multiple originals of almost everything. Like especially when it comes to this paperwork. That way, if they lost the original, because that's what can happen, they can lose it, they can put it in the trash, whatever. But they can't ignore it because we also document it in other ways that they can't ignore. So it's not that they can ignore it; it's just that they can lose your original and then you don't have another one, and it creates just problems when you're trying to do certain things. So I make multiple originals plus copies, and so that's why it's a process, because you have to keep track of all this stuff. As you do the paperwork, you learn how this country is supposed to function, because each one, like I mentioned this before in our last talk, each one of these documents explains to you what position you hold within this country and how that position is supposed to be executed. And the only way to learn that is to actually do the paperwork. You cannot take a class on this. You cannot take a course on this. You have to literally do the paperwork all the way down to, it starts with copyrighting your name. That's a process that we do within the tribe. Does it cost money? Yes, it costs money. Not for me. As long as I'm not charging, but these things cost money. You have to send things out registered mail. You have to have notary services. You have to have all this stuff. That's what we do within the tribe. I have it all set up so that the tribe can handle all of this kind of paperwork. So then some people may want to become members of the tribe. That's optional. Like, if you're going to have to become, you're going to have another name, because you have to have a name that's not associated with your birth name. And so that's it. There's no way to get around that. So, that's why I actually created the tribe, because you actually have to have a name that's not associated with your birth name. You also have to have an ID that's not associated with the government, for a number of reasons. But that's all like in the future. The paperwork is not hard. The hardest part is deciding that you're going to complete it, because like I said, it's a 3-year process. You really can't get through this in 3 years. Plus, you spend some of the time trying to solve your own problems, where I can advise people on how to do certain things, but there's no guarantee that it's going to work, because these people are gangsters. Like, they don't want to honor the paperwork that's being done correctly with understanding. I'm not just doing paperwork randomly. Like, I understand what's going on. I did the research to understand what these people are talking about. Most people who teach the paperwork processes, they don't understand how one, if they let me put it this way, if they understand how one part connects to the other, they don't tell anyone. That you have to pay $10,000, $20,000 to them for them to explain to you how this part connects with the other part. And I don't do that kind of stuff. We don't do that over here. We're very we want everyone to be free. It doesn't make sense for me to be free and I'm the only one who can enjoy the freedom. That's insane. Like, that's how most people who teach this how they operate. So in January, we're going to start that process. It includes going through tax filings and all this stuff. All of that is very easy. They try to make it difficult. It is not hard. I've been doing my own taxes since I was 18. Okay. I do taxes by hand now. Like, I I can do them taxes any number of ways. There's lots of things that you can do when you do it by hand that you can't do when you do it with the computer. And I know what you can do with the computer versus what you can do by hand. That's something that I investigated again for myself. So it's not like I'm not going to do your taxes, but I will walk you through some basic general practices on how to do it, because I'm not a registered tax preparer. I'm also not a registered financial advisor. So I can't tell you any of this stuff is legitimate or it works. This is just what I do. This is how I live my life. And I experience a lot of freedom as a result of that, which is why I have to have the protection of the empire, because you cannot be out here without being under, without somebody vouching for you, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, that's when I had to create the tribe, because I needed an organization to vouch for me. So now the tribe is a part of the empire. It's all together. We're all working on the same, um from the same perspective to accomplish the same task. So that's another thing that will start in January. I'll go back over that stuff again. Let me briefly talk about the fast and the feast schedule. So right now we're in a feast fast. It's a mixed. So next year, we're on February the 2nd. We start with the cross quarter holidays. February the 2nd is Imbolc. August the 2nd is Luden something something. I can't pronounce that. It's has to deal with the wheel of the year and the druid um astrology, okay? And they're the wheel of the year. So most people know about Samhain, they know about some of the other ones. That's where these things come from. Now, this schedule was, I didn't like pick this schedule. This is like what, just the way like the information has been communicated to us. So from February 2nd to about March 16th. I say about March 16th because on March 16th, or actually March 17th, is St. Patrick's Day. That's when we start observing when the year is going to start. We don't know what day the year will start for our Hebrew feast calendar days. So we observe the start of the year, and this comes from the book of Enoch, where he says you literally have to observe the start of the year. It doesn't mean I'm going to pick the start of the year and I'm going to recognize it. No, no, no. The year starts when the sun changes station, and you can visibly in the sky see the sun move in ways it's not supposed to move one day, well, 4 days a year altogether. So these are called the days, the points where the sun changes station, okay? And you can observe it almost every day. These 4 days you can observe the sun moving. And most people don't notice the sun, they don't pay that much attention to it. So from February 2nd until the end of the year, around March 16th, that's when the masculines, or the current abundant energy people, will be feasting, and the feminine energies will be fasting. And we'll be fasting at the feminine energies to support the abundance of the masculine energies, okay? On May 18th to June 21st, that is from May 18th is Moses' birthday. It's also Haitian Independence Day until the summer solstice. We'll all be feasting together. From August the 2nd, which is that Luden something something cross quarter holiday, until September the 21st, which is the fall equinox, we will be all fasting together at that time. And when that fast in particular, and most fasts that the feminine do, I suggest you eat with the sun. So from the time the sun comes up to the time the sun goes down, you do all your eating for the day. Now, I don't make it any more complicated than that. And after I go through this, I'll explain a little bit more why. But I don't make it any more complicated than that. You can, I just don't recommend it. For the feast, we'll have to have another conversation about feast closer to February the 2nd, because I'm starting to understand what a feast is. I had to ask, because when we did the feast this year in May, on May 18th through June 21st, we weren't connected with the masculine energy, and so it wasn't quite. I don't think it was the way it was supposed to be, because we really had the idea of a feast had just like been dropped into our lap, because usually from May 18th to June 21st we do a fast, but something was like, no, we need to do a feast. So that wasn't a cohesive experience. So now that we're doing this feast until Christmas Eve, I'm starting to get an understanding of what a feast is supposed to look like. So in February, well, in January, we'll talk a little bit more about what you're supposed to do during a feast, because I'm starting to figure it out. So, but August the 2nd to September the 21st is a fast. And so the last one is from December the 11th of 2026 until January 6th of 2027. Because on December the 11th, that's the day that Saturn goes direct. So every year when Saturn goes direct, that is the day we start our, it used to be a 22-day fast, but it's going to be split again. So from December 11th to January 6th, it'll be a feast for the feminine energy and it'll be a fast for the masculine energy, the same way it is this year. Because this fast that really starts on Thursday, on the 27th of November, that's what this is. It's a split feast and fast. And that's because, again, it's Saturn. So Saturn is Saturn. And so it's best if we split it up. It's the same thing with the February the 2nd to the March 16th. The masculine have already done their fasting, so they don't need to fast again. And the light is increasing, right? And so the feminines need to manage that, because the sun is feminine. So as the sun is increasing, that means that if we're in fast mode as the sun is increasing, we are going to increase with the sun, because we have the quote unquote spiritual aspects of the feminine energy, which is the sun. And when you fast, you even what when you fast, more will be added unto you. And that's why with Saturn, which is the discipline, if they fast, they are honoring Saturn. Feminine energy doesn't need to honor Saturn as much, because Saturn is actually a feminine energy. So we need to be partying with Saturn. Same thing I said about Zeus. We need to be partying with Zeus, right? Because um these retrogrades are extremely difficult for planets, because they have to, nobody wants to redo their work. So imagine having done all of this work only to have to go back and review it. Like, that's extremely difficult. And so when Saturn comes out of retrograde and starts to move forward, a lot of changes get made really fast. And so for this year, like what we're embarking on starting on Thursday, this year is different, because when Saturn comes out of retrograde on Thursday, it's not going to be coming back into Pisces. It's going to move forward into Aries, right? And then it's going to keep moving forward. So this is Saturn stays in a sign for 3 years. So it's about 30 years to a Saturn return. It's actually not 3 years, it's 2.5 years. But it's about 30 years to a Saturn, for every Saturn return, right? And so when Saturn is in a sign, it's not going to come back to this sign for 30 years. And so just imagining what that is like, okay, you're going to somebody's house and you've been staying in their house for a week, and you're like, okay, I'm going to leave this person's house. But like, you want to go back and visit, but you know you're not going to be going back and visit for a long time. So what do? You want to see all your favorite places. You want to do all your favorite stuff. You want to eat at all your favorite places, because when you leave that person, you're not coming back. And that's how Saturn is with a sign. Like, it's not coming back to Pisces for 30 years. Neptune is also going direct closer to the 12th of December. I think it's like the 10th. Neptune is going to be going direct. Neptune is at 29 degrees of Pisces. So when it goes into Aries, Neptune and Pisces are going to conjunct and move into Aries together. So when Neptune goes into Aries, Neptune is not coming back to Pisces for 160 or 100 and some years. It's a 160-year orbit. So it's not coming back for 160 years. So these things are trying to finish up very, very, very long cycles. Like, these are not like, oh, really short, this stuff just happened. No, this is stuff that is very, very long. It's stuff that's been going on a long time, and it needs to be resolved. And that's what you have Saturn doing when it goes direct, and also Neptune. But Neptune will already be in the midst of this, feast fast thing, so we don't have to do anything extra. I'm not sure it lines up like that every year because these planets have a retrograde season. So this is like retrograde season, like from about mid-November through about February. Most of the planets are in retrograde. Mercury is the only one that changes, like it changes whether it's what sign it's going to be in more frequently, but the rest of the planets, they have a pretty regular retrograde cycle. So that's our feast and fast schedule for 2026. Now, I said this in my video, I'm going to say it again. Anybody who's fasting or feasting, when we're fasting or feasting, is a part of our empire. And so it doesn't matter if that was their intention, that's what they wanted, that's what they thought. All of that's irrelevant. If they're fasting, feasting, when we're fasting and feasting, now I've put the schedule into the ley line. We're discussing it here. If they're doing what we're doing, when we're doing it, they are a part of the empire. That's how it works. And so their energy that they're investing into their fast or into their feast, unless it was called by the Orthodox, I'm not going to get involved with them because their schedule is basically set in stone. This will be just everyone else who's not Orthodox. Okay. They're making deposits as the banker. They're making deposits into like their treasures in heaven. They're building that up. And so whenever they do consciously come to the empire, we will have energy that has been stored for them that's awaiting them to come in. So again, it's like when you are the prodigal son and you return home, what happens? The father did what? He said, go and make merry with your friends, kill the fattened calf, take my ring, take my cloak, have a good time. That's what we'll be able to do when people come to the kingdom, to the empire, and they're just like exhausted and they're finally done with these fake copy and paste gurus and all these people out here. We'll say, welcome. We've been waiting for you. We've been holding this energy for you. It's not like we're not going to have to, we're obviously we'll make dividends off of holding their energy, right? There's interest to be paid for holding their energy, but we're not stealing it. We're not siphoning it. It's their energy. It's their work that they put into their feast and their fast. And so we're just holding it for them. And so when they come in, we will be able to, like I said, I'll be able to read their chart, tell them what's going on, put them in a line, give them like clarification on their purpose, and send them along their way to evangelize for the kingdom. And so that's how I envision this kind of operating.
Awesome. So this current fast, you said November 27th to what? December, what is it?
December
December
24th, the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve.
24th. Okay.
Yeah.
And so with this one, you were saying that uh so Saturn is leaving in this period, Saturn's leaving, and so the
No,
women
Saturn's
are
going direct. Saturn's going direct, not
okay.
leaving.
So you were saying about something like if you've been staying at someone's house and you're leaving, what was that in reference to? Which
That was in
phase?
reference to Saturn changing signs, it's in reference to Saturn going direct too, because when you realize like, oh, I'm getting ready to leave this person's house, right? Because it's in Pisces, but it's getting ready to go into Aries. This is the last
Ah, okay.
time that Saturn is going to be in Pisces for 30 years, about
Until December
27
24th.
years. No, it's Saturn goes into Aries in February. So right when we start our next feast
Mm.
fast, that's when Saturn and Neptune are both going to move into Aries, which I we have to cover that in like another talk, because that's actually, again, I didn't plan this. I do this every year. This is not I couldn't have planned this. There's no way I could have planned this. But it's just timing out so that we're going to basically already be celebrating and honoring this change of the guard, because Aries is a very different energy than Pisces.
Yeah, right, right.
Very different.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, at least, and I don't know much about astrology, but it seems like Pisces is very chill and Aries is like down to business, like breaking apart what really, because Pisces, it's like Pisces has made things soft. It's like softened things up for Pisces
Yeah.
to then come in and just like wreck it.
Yeah,
Just
because
just
Pisces is a water sign and Aries is a fire sign. So Pisces is very chill. It's very watery. It's very esoteric and deep and um like spiritual, right? It's very, very spiritual. Aries not like that. Aries is, who did this shit? You're fired. I'm gonna burn you up. Like, that's
yeah,
Aries.
yeah,
Aries, if
right.
you know any people who are Aries, they don't take no shit. Like, none. Like, do not come to them with anything, because they're just gonna fire you up. More so than Leos or Sagittarius. So I know Leos and Sagittarius. Aries are more fiery than Leos and Sagittarius. They're way more fiery. So yeah, it's going from this very chill energy to just like, oh, learn your lesson and
Uh-huh.
free love and everybody be happy, to, okay, now I saw a tweet earlier from Secretary Hegseth. He was like, he was talking about Mark Kelly, right? And Mark Kelly he's a senator. He had posted a picture of his what you call it, his military awards and stuff like that, his bars. Why did Hexef go off on him? Like, we need to do an inspection of your attire, because your bars are in the wrong order, your medals are wrong. Oh, it was like all this stuff was wrong. I was like, ooh, he about to fire him up, but it was wrong. When you get awards, they got to be in a certain order. They got everything got to be right, and they weren't right. That's Aries energy. Department of War, obviously. That's Aries energy. Hey, you better have on the right uniform. You got the wrong uniform on. Your bars are in the wrong order. You didn't scrub these floors with the toothbrush, but I can't see my face in your shoes. Like, that's military. Like, that's Aries energy. I have a lot of stuff in my first house. That's me all day. Like, I just want to see it done right. Don't come to me with the stuff done half wrong. Like, just do it the right way. And that's what Saturn and Neptune together are getting ready to walk into. They're like walking into this energy together. It is unheard of, actually. 2026 is definitely going to be a different kind of year than 2025.
Yeah, definitely. So okay, so then for this fasting period, women are basically enjoying Saturn basically
Yes.
changing houses, right? Houses?
No, no, no. Going
Signs?
direct. Going
Signs.
direct.
Okay, going direct. And then
Yes.
while the men are honoring Saturn by the fast.
Yes, because in February, when we do the next set where the men will be feasting, you guys will be partying while Saturn and Neptune move into Aries. Meanwhile, the women will be keeping watch while Saturn and Neptune move into Aries. So that's the difference. Right now, Saturn
Mm.
is going direct. So you guys are keeping watch while Saturn is going direct to make sure everything that has to be done before February gets done. You're making yourselves open to be the hands and the feet of Saturn to get these things done. Meanwhile, the women are in the
Mm.
celebratory mode, because Saturn retrograde is particularly difficult on women, because women already like go back and question things in their mind, like, oh, did I do this right? Did I make the right decision? We always doing it, like second guessing ourselves. That's natural for women. And so when Saturn is in retrograde, depending on what house it's in, yeah, you're doing that times two. So like Saturn has been retrograde in Pisces. Pisces is my fifth house. Fifth house is related to work, family, stuff like that. I have definitely been questioning. Like, we've talked about this. Oh, I'm going to take my kids out of school. I'm going to do all this extreme stuff. I've been
Mm.
doing this for 3 years. Like, okay, I moved to Florida, but that was the right thing to do. Like, once I said no, this was the right thing to do. Then part of that, like, went away. But then the rest of it was, okay, is this the right person that I'm with? And these kids, am I doing the right thing for them? Is this the right job that I'm at? Am I doing the right thing? I'm trying to do this spiritual work. And it's really not like working the way it's supposed to. Like questioning everything about work and family. I have been questioning for the last 3 years. So when Saturn goes into retrograde, you go back again and look at all the details. Like, remember when you did this? Look at the way that you handled that. Look at this, look at that. And for women who already do that, this is particularly difficult. After this retrograde, and the retrograde is not like 1 or 2 months, it's like 4 months. 4 months of this. Like, no, it's time to celebrate. Like, the women, you
Yeah,
literally
right.
emotionally have to celebrate after all of this. It's way too much going on not to celebrate. But for men, it doesn't really affect y'all. Y'all be like, oh, I probably could have did that, and you move on with your life. Okay, all right, that's beautiful. What about us who have been like agonizing over every little thing, whatever sign it's in? No, like y'all haven't been doing that. So this is your opportunity to honor that energy by some introspection, like, because that's what I was going to talk about next anyway. What is fasting? Like, spiritual fasting is not about the food. It's about the commitment that you make. So whatever commitment you make, if you're going to start the fast with us the day after Thanksgiving, don't start on Thanksgiving if you're fasting. Please start the day after Thanksgiving. Holidays are of the utmost importance to the empire, to the way that this planet works. You have to celebrate your local holidays. Okay, so don't ignore those. America's in trouble because they ignored Juneteenth this year. That is not going to be unresolved. Like, there's going to be a consequence for that. So don't be like America and ignore your black people. Like, pay attention to your holidays. I never used to even, Juneteenth had nothing to do with DC. I never used to pay attention to Juneteenth, but I understand now that, hey, this is an important holiday to a large number of people in this country. It's a holiday I have to pay attention to. Okay. So don't ignore holidays. Holidays are really important. Even pseudo holidays like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, all holidays are important. Halloween, all holidays that are celebrated on the calendar in America are important. That's why they try to put like Trans Visibility Day and all these weird holidays on here, because they know how important holidays are. Okay. So, that being said, when you do spiritual fasting, it's not about what you do. That's why I say, when I recommend for women, just eat with the sun. Don't make any other commitment except to eat with the sun, because the spiritual work that you have to do is going to be so overwhelming that if you make other commitments like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, whatever, it could be extremely difficult. Like, that's what the demons will use to tempt you. Because sometimes, especially with the fast that starts on February the 2nd, sometimes I literally cannot eat before the sun goes down. I just can't, because I don't get home early enough and all of this stuff. So I don't stress myself out about it. Like, I do the best that I can, because that's another thing. Do the best that you can. If you miss it for some reason, you miss the mark, don't forgive yourself. Tomorrow's another day. Try again. Because when you hold yourself accountable for trivial things like, oh, you were hungry in the middle of the night, so you ate something, you are just creating your own hell. Like, don't do that. You want to just do the best you can, and you want to keep that in mind. Listen, I'm doing the best that I can. So, like, for example, if you're going to be fasting from the 28th through the November the 28th through December the 24th, and there's a holiday party, right? And you had said, okay, well, for this fast, I'm only going to drink milk or whatever you said you're going to do, right? And there's a holiday party. Participate in a holiday party. Don't think about it and say, you know what, because people are more important than this stuff. Like, people are, our interactions with other humans are literally the most important thing. So, for example, when you go to the park, right, I would speak to people, because your interaction with another human, even if you're like trying not to talk, like you're trying to do that. No, your interaction with other humans is it's the reason why you're on this planet. You have to honor that. Just like if there's parties, if there's holiday, whatever, it's what humans are doing. That is that is the top priority. Humans are the top priority on this planet. What they have done with this false matrix and these false leaders and these weird elite, and they have made humans second to God, second to or third to the state, fourth to the job. Like humans are not important. What we're doing with the Holy Emperium is putting humans back at the top. We are the most important. We are the apple of the Creator's eye. We are the ones who never left. And so if we're that important, what did in the parable of in that parable of the prodigal son, what did the father say to the son who never left? Everything I have is yours. That it wasn't some things. It's everything. So if everything I have is yours, how important is that person? We never put ourselves in that position. No, that is we are as humans are greatly important to the creator because everything the creator has is ours. And when we need more, the creator will give us more. And so this is why we have to put humans on the level of God. Like you, as much as you revere God, you have to revere humanity. You can't put humanity under the government, under the state, under these jobs, under technology. No. Humans first. Humans first. Actually, shouldn't be America first. It should be humans first. Humanity first, and then everything else. And if we realign our energy with that, because that's what the Bible said, it's over and over and over again. These, especially in the Old Testament, these Israelites put everything over humans. Everything. They put all the gods, the devil, everything was over the humans. None of these things are more important than humanity. Humanity has to survive. And so that has to be our primary focus. Emotionally, we have to survive. Physically, we have to survive. Spiritually, we have to survive. That is what has to happen. And so we, as the hands and the feet of the Creator, have to put humanity first. And when we do that, everything else will come back to an alignment. Now, it doesn't mean you want a cheeseburger, and you already ate and, your time is up or whatever, and you just want one. No, that's not good because then you're breaking your commitment. But if it's like, do I do this thing with my family or do I honor this fast? Do the thing with your family. The creator understands that family is the most important thing to the creator. Jesus was his son. Hello, Jesus was his son. So do the thing with the family. He did something with Jesus that had never been done. You know what I mean? So that's how important family is to the creator. These things are like very obvious, but most people they don't think about it from this perspective. So this is the kind of evangelizing we have to do within the so like for example, in the Orthodox Church, we are fasting. So when we have fellowship hour, because we have it's not a coffee hour, but after church every Sunday, most of the Orthodox churches do this, right? Maybe not Greek Orthodox, don't they're like not like regular Orthodox churches, but the small family Orthodox churches, they have like a fellowship hour after church. Okay. So what you're not supposed to eat when you're fasting is like cheese, eggs, stuff like that. You're not supposed to have any of that. But you're also not supposed to have meat, right? Or fish or anything like that. And so what normally happens is when you do a fellowship hour um during the fasting time is that you make stuff that doesn't have meat in it. However, there is still cheese there because they have macaroni and cheese. Some of the kids only eat macaroni and cheese. They have eggs there because they have boiled eggs. They have egg salad. At least at our church, we still have those things. We have things made with oil. Like because some people can't have butter. You have to use something to lubricate the food. So we still have these things, even though technically we're not supposed to be having them. But what is it? Hey, this is the table that was prepared for all of these people who came to church to participate in, right? This is a table that we prepared. I did this last week, so I'm really speaking from experience. Um, Feast sumptuously. Like, if you don't want to eat it, that's fine. Don't eat it. It's not a problem. But when you're dealing with extremely old people who have very limited diets, or extremely young people who have limited taste buds, you still have to find something that everyone can eat. And it doesn't stop any of the sweets, which all have oil, butter, eggs, like all that stuff is in there. And it doesn't stop any sweets. There's no like, oh, we're going to have fellowship hour, but we're not going to have any cake. No, there's cake. There's always cake. So it's that thing, like the humanity is just more important than this is why a few times in the Bible you have or especially among the saints. I'm thinking about a saint when this happened. They had somebody had come to visit. Yeah, this was a saint. I can't remember which one, but somebody had come to visit, and the only thing that they had to eat was salted pork or something like that. And the daughter was like, but we're fasting. And the father was like, listen, we have a guest. All we have to eat is this salted pork. Prepare it, because I'm not gonna let my guest starve because we're fasting. I'm not gonna do that. And I when I read that story, I thought it was really, really like important, because that shows that your hospitality, because that's what that is. Hospitality trumps fasting. It trumps your spiritual life. You have to show hospitality first, which means you have to honor humanity first and then do your fasting. I hope that makes sense. I didn't mean to go off on such a tirade on that, but people overdo it. They make everything so difficult, and it's really not supposed to be that difficult.
No, that's great. That's good to understand, and definitely what you said about the saying hello to people when I'm doing the silent thing is very important, because I am someone that always takes things to the extreme,
Yes,
and
yes, Thecla.
and
Yes, stop.
definitely, yeah, right, yeah,
Yes,
exactly,
Thecla.
yes,
Yes, you will
that's
always take things
definitely.
to the extreme. So this is why I have to like remind you, hey, we have to evangelize too. So if you're so extreme that people just are like, I don't want to be a part of whatever those crazy people are doing, that's not going to be helpful. This is what I learned this up close and personal from dealing with, not only dealing with Jehovah's Witnesses who are the same way, but from dealing with these Hebrew Israelites. They're the same kind of thing. Nobody wants to be involved with these people because they literally they think that God is more important than the humans they have to interact with. And that's simply insane. Like, we have to reject that extremist thought process. And Muslims do this to an extent too. Like, we have to reject that, because that's not biblical. It's not moral. And it doesn't even make sense.
Yep, that's good to keep in mind for sure. Yeah, I mean, and this is the difference between this empire and really a lot of previous ones, where it's not about trying to maintain power, it's not about consolidating power, it's about
Right.
making sure that the the structure within the empire is built to empower humanity. I mean, that's the
Exactly.
priority. It's not
Exactly.
anything else. And as you know, with all these other systems that have been built, it's this, yeah, humans are like, they're not top 5. Like, there's
No.
no, and we've seen that right now with this system. It's like everywhere you look, it's how do we enslave the peasants more? How do we control them?
Exactly.
And then all these people that are quote unquote rich, that are quote unquote wealthy, they all made their money taking advantage of humans.
Exactly. And then they
That's
wonder
why
why
that's
no
why
one
all
wants
their
to work
wealth
with them.
is, yeah, and this is why all their wealth, this is why everything they have is being confiscated,
Yep.
because it's ill-gotten. It's not
Yes.
in alignment. Now, it's going to be very interesting in terms of how it's confiscated, because it's already
Right.
happening. Like, people, and I think partly one of the ways that it's being confiscated is that people are literally going crazy. Like, they are
Yes.
going insane, and they don't really kind of know how to deal with it, and in going insane, there's so many temptations that are cropping up that basically are just going to take their money. Like, it's
Right.
just going to be taken from them.
Right.
Now there's going to be others that are eventually kind of, as we get bigger, that are going to basically try to pay their way into repentance, I guess, or into salvation, which is that's not how it works. But
No.
um, yeah,
Oh, well,
it's
because the Catholics do it. Oh, they used to call them what? Indulgences. Yes, the priest will give you an indulgence for that prostitute you slept with. No, there's no indulgences here. We don't do that.
and it's interesting because it was a Medici that brought that I think created the indulgences. I think he was the
Really?
first one. Yeah, Pope Leo, was it Leo the 10th?
Yeah, Pope Leo.
Uh-huh. That
Notice
was
how
that
they put.
was that
Notice
was
how
a
they gave this
Medici.
man Leo's name. By the way, I wanted to talk to you about that.
Mm.
Why would they name him Pope Leo? I was like, why would they name him Pope Leo? That's so weird. No, because they knew you were coming. They saw you coming and was like, oh, we have to, um, basically, say that we're supreme. We're the supreme Leo, right? We're the supreme Medici. That's what they're trying to say. That he's the Medici, not you. Like, you see how they do this all the time. I thought they just did it to me, but now I'm like literally seeing it in real time. Oh, they did this to you too. That's crazy.
Huh.
Yeah, that's why. I
Yeah,
mean,
I gotta like,
between
yeah, what are the
Benjamin
odds? What are
and
the odds
what
that
are the
Leo?
odds?
I didn't because because I was looking at the Medici history, and they were involved in, I mean, this pope was involved in doing the indulgences,
Crazy.
but I didn't make the connection that it's a Leo.
Yes, and
And
Leo is
if you notice,
Apollo.
this pope is now like, it's the cool pope.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they
he's
got
a
like
hip.
a
I
DJ
saw
playing
that.
in front of like some cathedral,
I
and
saw that for the
um
bishop's birthday. Like, these people they're trying to modernize. They're trying to give the people what they want, but it's like,
they have to because there's no other way.
well,
Wow,
that's not
interesting.
what the people want though. The people want to be free.
Well, the normies, the thing is, the normies are gonna eat this up. They're already eating it up. That's why
Yeah, they
they're
are.
so the Catholicism membership is increasing. But I agree with you in terms of it's not gonna last.
Right.
Like it's not, it's, you know, they're gonna go to mass, they're gonna go to this, they're gonna go to confession. They're all these humans are doing it to obviously there's a void within them, and that's why they're gonna go, they're joining an example, obviously Catholic Church, but there's a lot of people joining Islam, but they're joining these religions because they feel a void within them, and so they think, well, let me go and join this community to feel better. And temporarily, because obviously finally they're coming out of the house and they're connecting with other humans, they might feel better, but really it's more that, and this is why they talk about the aesthetics. Everyone's so busy about, oh, Catholic aesthetics are
Right.
so amazing.
Yeah.
They're so much better than the other aesthetics because it's shallow. That's what they're showing, that their faith is a shallow faith. It's about, how do I look in front of other people? How do I look in front of my friends? How do I look in front of my followers? Instead of that, this is actually a faith that is renewing me. So
Right.
once the aesthetics things fade away, they're going to be faced with the fact that they still have not done the inner work, that
Right.
there's still issues with their love life, with their finances, with their job, with family life. Like because everything is, especially as you said, with Aries coming in, Aries about to fuck shit up. It's
Right.
already been fucking shit up, but it's
Right.
only going to intensify the fire. People are burning.
Right.
Hell is coming. It's already
Right.
burning. People are already burning, but they, for some reason, people seem to think that, like, oh, if I just make a little bit more money, it's gonna pass. Or, oh, if I just like go on more dates with women or with men, that it's like gonna be like they think that they can, if they can just keep distracting themselves as they've been doing all of their life, that their pains are going to wane. But
Right.
Aries is going to come in and say, you have not been doing the work. Now it's going to be even stronger, even more
Right.
intense. And because they're not doing this fasting and feasting, which I think is very important. This fast schedule is extremely important, because I think what's going to happen is women with this retrograde are feeling like crap. So
Right.
they're going to do the opposite. They're going to try to fast. They're going to do a spiritual fast. Like they're
Exactly.
going to try to not celebrate. They're going to try to punish themselves for what they've been doing and what they've been
Right.
feeling. And then men, um, they're trying to feel better about their shit life. And so they're going to
Right.
feast.
Right. Right. No, you I mean, look at what I said to you yesterday. I was like, man, I feel terrible. I haven't made any videos. I don't like it. But that was already coming through in me. Like I had to step back and that's why I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know what this
right.
is. This is different. So what I've done so far is I've bought 3 bottles of wine and I bought a fifth of bourbon. So we'll see where this goes. I don't how do you even celebrate after you've been kicked in the teeth for the last 4 months? Like I don't know. Like I have a birthday party to go to in a few weeks. That's going to be fun. So it's like, okay, I'm starting to see what this is supposed to look like. But like when we did this feast in May, I could tell you it wasn't anything fun going on. It was still basically like a fast, even though it was supposed to be a feast. Like it was still basically like a fast. It wasn't
Mm.
fun. Like there wasn't any like big celebrations or anything like that. So that's why I'm like, I have to tell you what a feast is after we finish this feast because that's when I'll know. But I had to ask, who is in charge of the feast? So that's when I figured out, okay, Odin is in charge of fast, and Zeus is in charge of feast. That's what I think it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yes. Okay, I
Yes.
could see that.
And so that if
Let me
that's
write
the
this down.
case, then that gives me a better idea of what this thing should look like because I can go and look at how Zeus would party and say, okay, those are the things I need to be doing. That's how I need to actually honor this
Yep.
fast or this feast, even though I don't feel like it. You know what I mean? Like
Yes, right.
it's very weird. Like it doesn't it's very uncomfortable. Let's put it that way. It's very uncomfortable to know that you effed up for the last 4 months because that's what Saturn does. You messed up, you missed a spot, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. To literally know that you effed up for 4 months. Now it's like, okay, let's party. What? You just told me how bad of a person I was for the last 4 months. Now you want to go party? Like
Mm.
I'm confused, but that's how the energy plays out. It's very, very it's uncomfortable. That's the best word I can it's very uncomfortable.
Oh, wow. Yes, yes, it is. And if we're not aware of this, obviously, like the fast is gonna happen. So and then Odin is we're preparing the men are preparing for war.
Right.
Like we're preparing
Exactly.
for Ares.
Right.
We're getting the armaments ready. You know, we're not here trying to feast. We got work to do. There's
Exactly.
armaments to prepare for. There's military strategies and plans to sort out. And
Right.
that's literally how I feel. It's like every time it gets dark, and as you know, it's getting dark very early,
Right.
like 4 or 5 p.m. hits, and it's like there's like a bloodlust that comes on. There's
Mm.
like a switch is flipped, and it's like, okay, who do I gotta put in their place? And it's not individuals because obviously this is an empire. We're not trying to single out individuals, at least not initially.
Right.
And also the individuals that are singled out are like the big players. You know, we're
Right.
not, because I think a lot of people, especially as they continue to observe what we're doing, they're going to think just like they think in their very small ways, is that we're going to be going after people that, you know, treated us harshly, or we have grudges on others. But we got to be thinking massive in terms of we're going after the people that have been enslaving humanity. We're going after the people that are at the top of the totem pole, because if we bring those people down, then obviously, you know, the sheep scatter.
Right.
So
Right.
it's very fascinating in terms of I've been buying these turkeys to feed the ravens, and they're getting to know me now. They're
Right.
they're
Ooh.
they're flying around because I was outside at the park for a good amount. They're flying around. What's interesting is they don't eat in my presence. They just acknowledge the food and they wait for me to leave.
Really?
which is a very interesting thing. It's almost like they don't. It's almost like part of the ritual is to make sure that I am not there to watch them eat, because I was there for like an hour or so doing some exercising, and the ravens were just they kept flying around in different areas just to keep observing me.
Wow. Yeah, they're like, we don't want you to see us eat now. That's personal. Maybe that's how you know when you've gained their trust, where they let you, when they let
Yeah.
you see them eat. That's when you're like, okay, they trust me now. Because eating is very vulnerable. People don't even think about that. Like eating is a very vulnerable position. Because once you have a mouthful of food, like you can't talk, you can't interpret, you can't anything. And once you start, you're really not going to stop. So eating is very personal.
So in terms of going off of this Odin and Zeus thing, uh like energetically as the empire, like what are we I mean, so if the men are preparing for war and the women are partying it up, like what's going on? Like what's going on in terms of like
Well, the men are protecting the safety of the women while we party it up. For a
okay, okay,
woman,
right.
like you know what I mean? It's just like when you guys start feasting, we're going to be fasting. It's the same thing. We're protecting, holding down the home front while you guys get to celebrate. Like, it's almost like a designated
Yeah.
driver.
Mhm.
Like, I would feel very I think that's another part of this. I would feel very uncomfortable celebrating right now if I didn't know you weren't out there protecting, because it's very dangerous. Like think about like
Mhm.
when someone goes to the club and they start drinking, it's very, very dangerous to go to the club and drink if you don't have someone that's watching your back. And so for me, I was always that person. Like whenever I was going out to the club with a group of friends, I was the one who was keeping an eye on everyone, keeping track of them. Like one time, we got our drinks got spiked, um, and I was the one who held it together so we could get into the house because I knew something was going on. I was like, no, all right, we've got to go home. Somebody spiked our drink. I didn't even exactly know that's what it was, but I knew something was wrong. And so I jumped into, okay, we've got to get home in one piece. And like, that's the only option right now. We can worry about all this other stuff later. And it was very, very dangerous. Those type of things happen. So basically, what you guys are doing is you're making sure that nobody can
Mhm.
proverbially spiritually spike our drinks. And then when you guys are feasting, what are we doing? We're making sure no hoes and harlots come on the floor and violate you, because that's what a woman will do. A harlot, I mean, one of these weird women, they will violate a man if he is incapacitated. And the next thing, that's
Mhm.
how do you think all these women get these athletes and stuff like this? Like we were just talking about Shannon Sharp the other day. Like, how do you think that happens? Like, she violated him more than likely in order to show him that weird stuff in the bedroom that he liked. Because how else would he know?
Yep, right. Yeah, I mean, no wonder I feel like it's yeah, it's like nighttime comes around and it's like I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm on the
Right,
prowl. Like my ravens are flying around assessing the assessing what's going on. Like I'm ready. I'm
right.
ready. It's like
And
anything that
imagine
happens.
you are just getting the attacks that they're sending like at me. Like you're fighting off people that are coming at me. Cause I'm like, why have I really haven't had a lot of dreams? Like no hardly any dreams, but the dreams I have that haven't been, I don't record my dreams anymore unless they're emotional. Like I'm looking to have an emotional response to a dream. If I don't have an emotional response, I don't even get involved in it because I'm like, it's just kind of like information that's passing by. I don't have to be concerned about it. So imagine like you've been fighting and all this stuff. These are people coming at me, but they can't get to me because I have to go through you first. That's extremely comforting. That lets me know, no, it's okay to actually like, you know, go get a drink, go to a party, make a plan, because before all my plans would be intercepted. If I made a plan it would be intercepted before I could even get to it. And it would be like, Dad, why are they intercepting my plans? Like, I just was trying to do X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is, or everything has to be done in secret, like at the last minute, because if I make a plan too early, these whoever these entities are, they just intercept and they literally destroy everything. So I don't feel like that's even like possible anymore. Like, I mean, I know it's possible. I don't feel like it's a practical thing that's going to happen. Let's put it that way. Not like before where it was
Yeah,
all the time.
and if it happens, like there's serious repercussions. Like
Right.
if something passes through, like obviously you will know and you will tell me, and then
Right.
I'm going ham.
Right.
I'm just throwing shots, as they say.
Right. Right.
Just
And
letting it
that's
fly, letting the hammer fly.
right, which is new. That's these are all very new experiences. This is what a the creation of a solid like unit, like a family unit. This is what it would look like. This is what it should feel like. So this example, and it's not just, it's what brothers and sisters should do for each other. You don't really
Mm,
see this anymore. Like, even in the Black community, you don't really see it unless you're in a certain like group of people. But this is what it's supposed to look like. The women are supposed to protect the men. The men are supposed to protect the women. But now nobody knows who they are. Again, this goes back to having your chart done. Nobody knows who they are. They don't know what energy they're in. And so they're almost always doing the wrong thing because they're in the wrong energy. And so that's how we demonstrate proper alignment um, to the members or the citizenry of the empire.
beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do we have anything? So yeah, would love to. I guess um definitely will be interested to see, because I'm gonna do so now that I have this kind of knowledge with the Odin, because yeah, Odin came out of nowhere. I saw the
Right.
ravens, and
Right.
I saw the 199 a pound fresh turkeys, raw turkeys, obviously. I was like, I could
It's
just
for
buy a whole
Thanksgiving.
turkey.
You know why? It's
Yeah.
because of Thanksgiving. That's why the turkeys are so cheap.
They're so cheap because I usually buy 3.99 a pound ground beef for the animals. So I see 1.99 a pound. I can't believe it. I'm like, I'm buying a turkey every few days.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then I realized, well, now I got this turkey. I'm gonna start feeding these larger animals. And the larger animals really, at least initially, was like the ravens. And then the
Right.
ravens was like, well, who am I doing an offering to if it's the ravens? I thought the ravens was Apollo, but it's
Mm.
actually Odin. Odin is the one that's, I mean, there's obviously other gods, and I'm going to look deeper into them as well, but Odin was the one that really kind of showed itself pretty heavily, because the ravens are the ones that keep watch of the empire, and that's going to be
Right.
very, very important, especially as we kind of grow from being this like little seed to now beginning to start growing. Like, we have to have a very watch we have to have a very strong watchful eye for the beings, the entities, the spirits, and the humans that start to enter our field. But
Right.
this is not for the people involved to be doing that work.
Right.
It's like, and as you were saying with being the banker, like, usually, at least my belief of what a banker is in the past is financial banking. But
Right.
what the banker actually does is it manages currency.
Right.
It manages both financial, but the main one is energetic. And this
Right.
is where you were saying, in terms of everybody that is fasting and feasting with us, and as you saw with Brian Johnson, Brian Johnson is pushing the
Right.
fast. So
Amazing. Amazing.
all those people, and as you know, Brian Johnson has a lot of elites following him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all these elites, without even realizing it, are basically opening their bank account with the banker.
Right. They're making a deposit, which is good. That's what we want. That's why, again, you said, hey, everybody can come in. Hey, that means everybody means everybody. So if these elites do this stuff and the stuff works, you know, we just set aside, this is like their little retirement plan. And when they start, you know, the other leaders start going off, which they always do because they have a ego issue, then they'll be looking for, well, who in the world did they get this from? Because they obviously didn't get it from, you know, they didn't come up with it themselves. These people are not, they know they're not creative. So they'll go seeking for the creator, and they'll be really, they'll be seeking for the kingdom. And we'll be like, yep, it was us, you know, oh, you know, we've been waiting for you.
Yeah, and once they have an energetic bank account, and it's going to be also important in terms of, okay, so we're getting them through these fast and feast schedules, which we're also going to be very observant in terms of how we promote these, because like these are basically our almost like our promotional campaigns to get people to bank with
Right,
us. And
right,
but there's also going to be other instances where it's not just going to be the fast and the feasting. There's other instances where we're going to um, basically have people open up their bank account. So I mean, everyone that follows all of these narratives, the raw milk, the sun gazing, they all have a bank account with us, or at least
right,
I believe that that should qualify in term, because if they keep drinking raw milk, that's them uh, feeding energy into the hyperstructure, which has an investment in raw milk. What we
right,
could very easily do is, okay, we'll take a percentage of that, a portion of that, and put it in the bank accounts. We'll give them dividends. We'll give them dividends. We'll put it in their in their bank accounts. And when they end up coming to the empire, they already have a credit in
right,
terms of their credit is, well, they've been supporting the empire actually for all these years. They've been supporting
right,
it with these narratives, they've been supporting with that narratives. And so they come into the empire with a certain level of clout that is going to help them to be better positioned than someone that is really not as initiated as the others. So as the banker, all the energy of the empire flows through the banking system.
right,
And then from the like as it flows into the banking system, the role of the banker is to know where to properly uh, place the energy in terms
right,
of, you know, where to store the energy, how to manage the energy,
right,
how to get dividends and interest from the energy, in terms of, okay, some of this energy is going to go to obviously like the checking accounts of these individuals. Some of it is going to go to the upkeep of the defense, of R&D, of the spiritual side. I mean, there's all different aspects of the empire that require a certain amount of energy, obviously a currency, money, but we're going now beyond the money,
right,
requires a certain level of energy that the banker is responsible for. And then I
right,
think with these feasts and these fasts, we're going to become very clear in terms of, if in doing this properly, the gods are going to be giving us energy. Like they're going to be
right,
they're going to be paying us with energy. How are we going to manage that? How does that even look like? And I think with this whole Odin and Zeus thing, we're working with the two head honchos of two pantheons.
right,
They're now going to be very aligned. I mean, they already are, but they're going to be even more aligned to both the empire itself, but also the individuals that uh, it's like if you went to a Beyonce concert, you're going to get a collectible. You know, you're going to get
right,
pictures. You're going to have an
right. You're gonna
experience.
have
You're going to get,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to get this an experience that you'll never forget, especially if it was a
Right,
good concert. It's the
right,
same thing when we're out here, the women feasting with Zeus, learning from Zeus, embracing Zeus, and then we have the men here fasting with Odin, learning from
right,
Odin, embracing Odin, providing offerings for Odin, which I think
right,
is a whole different scenario that we can maybe start talking about in the next spaces. But
right,
as we do this, like we are getting energy from all of this. And I think it's very
right,
important for us to start to really piece together, well, how do we keep track of this? Like, what does this look like? How do we put it in a physical form where people can begin to digest and understand that this is real? Just because we can't really see it, we can't really as easily grasp it as we can a dollar bill, does not mean it's not real. If anything, actually, it's the most real thing that you can, because once you have Zeus in you, once you have Odin in you, once you have aligned yourself with the energies of Saturn, the dividends, the benefits that we accrue from it is priceless.
Well, let me refer to something I was talking about earlier, which is the paperwork process. It's the same thing. The reason why I can speak about this the way that I can is because it's literally the same thing as doing this paperwork. You have tax credits, okay? A tax credit is dollar for dollar, meaning one tax credit equals $1. That's literally what the law says. And so that's how this energy is. Like one energetic credit is one energetic dollar. And so even though like I have like I don't know 50 million tax credits. Like I just have a lot of tax credits because I did the paperwork. Again, it's about keeping the records. And so what would the records be in this case? It would be the reflections. It's the entities. On the spirit realm, it's the entities. The reason why I know I have a lot of rank in the spirit realm is because I know a lot of entities. If somebody's having a conversation, I can decipher the entity that they're talking about. They're talking about an energy. They're talking about a feeling, but that feeling is associated with an entity. So the more entities you have access to, the more spiritual abundance you have access to. And that is best learned through experience. So like you're talking about, oh well, I think the raven thing was really Odin and this and that. It's like, no, if Odin is what came to mind, if Odin what stands out, it is Odin. Now you go, this is how I normally do when a new pantheon comes in. I go and figure out what the major players are. So if it's Odin, then who was his antagonist? Who, like, what are the major stories about him? What are the major themes of his life? Whatever. I go down a deep rabbit hole, and I've done this with all the entities. That way, when someone says something um, like, for example, I have been thinking about, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago when I realized it. It's like, why would they call it marijuana? Like, why would they call it marijuana? It's such a weird name, like, or cannabis or what, like, why would they call it marijuana? Like, why would they call it that? And so the conclusion I came to was like, oh, it's Mary Jew Anna. And I was like, well, what's the Jew? Like, that's weird. But I know it's Mary and Anna. And then today I realized what the Jew was. It's Jaguar, which that has to deal with like the blacks and like Black Panther and all. It's the black. So it's Mary, Jaguar, Anna. And something about the Jaguar has to do with Jaguar Heaven. But it's like it's all tied together. So that's why they would call it. When you smoke marijuana, you are engaging in heaven with Mary and Anna. You are in the heaven Mary and Anna are in. So, of course, that's why they would want to take it away, demonize it, all this kind of stuff, because they don't want you to be in heaven. They want you to be a peasant. And if you're a peasant, peasants don't smoke marijuana. So, this is the kind of like, so I can tell when somebody is in an elevated state, not smoking, but just in general, what are they experiencing? What do people want? People want to have that connection in heaven. Well, the ones who can walk you into heaven are Mary and Anna. Or like another word I recently deciphered was chrysanthemum, which is like that's a weird word, but it's like, wait, Chris, which is Christ, and the mom, Mary, chrysanthemum. So if you want to engage in that Christ and Mary like relationship, like if you want to be a child of the Theotokos, a child of Mother Mary, you need to be consuming chrysanthemum tea or whatever. And I put that in one of the tea blends that I have. But this is the kind of like I can see it in everything. And that's how you know your spiritual rank is how many different entities you can see in any given experience. So, for example, earlier today, we had a field trip, and I was driving a bus and it was at a movie theater. And so I had drove my van around back, and I was sitting in my little fold out chair, and the police pulled up. And I was like, God dang it, I'm just trying to relax. I don't want to be around no police. Like, it's not comfortable for me. So after about 10 minutes, I packed my stuff up and I went to a park that was like down the street. Well, I sit down at the park, and no soon as I started filming my video, you could see this in the video, a guy walks up, another white man walks up, and what is he doing? He's cleaning up. So you have these police, what do police do? Clean